tent filled with people, a speech in full swing, a national figure ready to debate. Then suddenly a shot. One bullet ripped through a neck. One life ended, and a nation was left in shock. This is the story of Charlie Kirk and of Tyler Robinson, a story of obsession, of planning, and of how one act of violence shattered not only lives, but the illusion of safety itself. Evergreen towns and college campuses across America pride themselves on being places of discussion, places where ideas are exchanged, where disagreement doesn't end in violence. But on September 10, 2025, in Orem, Utah, at Utah Valley University, words were no longer enough. At precisely 12:23 p.m., a single shot cut through the air and changed everything. Charlie Kirk was just 31 years old, a political figure, co-founder of Turning Point USA, and a lightning rod for controversy. He had supporters who called him courageous, critics who called him dangerous. But he was used to the fight. He thrived in the arena of ideas. That day, on stage in front of about 3,000 people, he had been answering questions, sparring with a student about mass shootings in America. His last words, just before it happened, were simple: counting or not counting gang violence? And then, a sound that didn't belong. A sharp crack, metallic, piercing. Some thought it was a microphone issue, maybe even fireworks. But then came the silence that only horror brings. The bullet had traveled from nearly 200 yards away. It struck Kirk in the neck. Blood pooled as the crowd erupted into screams. Panic rippled outward. Children clutched by parents. Students frozen in shock. Others bolting for exits. Security scrambled. The stage was no longer a stage, it was a scene of chaos. Witnesses would later describe the moment in fragments. One said, "I thought it was staged until I saw the blood." Another whispered through tears. People were running and trampling one another. There was no safe place. Kirk was rushed to Timpanogos Regional Hospital. He fought for his life, but the wound was fatal. By afternoon, doctors confirmed what the world had feared. Charlie Kirk was dead. Behind the rifle was a man few had ever heard of, Tyler James Robinson. He was just 22, a trade school apprentice electrician from St. George, Utah. No criminal record, not politically registered, on paper almost invisible. But in reality, Robinson had been planning this. Investigators would later uncover digital traces, text messages, notes, and evidence showing this wasn't a spontaneous act. It was premeditated. It was deliberate. Robinson had positioned himself on a rooftop near the event, rifle wrapped in a towel. That towel bore his DNA. A screwdriver left at the sniper's perch matched his prints. Bullet casings recovered at the scene matched his weapon, a rifle that belonged to his grandfather. And perhaps most damning of all, his own words. Shortly after the shooting, Robinson texted his roommate, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." Beneath it, the roommate found a note. "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." The roommate, panicked, texted back, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson allegedly replied, "I am. I'm sorry. Forensic evidence. A written confession. A digital admission." Together, they painted a picture prosecutors said could not be ignored. And so, 6 days later, charges were filed. Aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, 2 counts of obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, violence committed in the presence of a child. Each charge stacked like weight on his shoulders. Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray announced that the death penalty would be pursued. He cited aggravating factors: premeditation, political targeting, and the presence of minors in the audience. In Utah, those are grounds for capital punishment. Robinson's first court appearance was held virtually. Dressed in a suicide smock, his face blank, he spoke only to confirm his name. He did not enter a plea. He sat silently, as if carved from stone, while prosecutors outlined the case against him. The courtroom details are chilling. Not just the towel, the DNA, the rifle, but the attempt to hide his tracks. Witness tampering charges stemmed from instructions Robinson allegedly gave. Delete text messages, destroy evidence, cover his trail. But in the modern age, nothing truly disappears. Deleted messages are recovered. Metadata reveals timing. And forensic science speaks louder than silence. Outside the courtroom, emotions ran raw. Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, was granted a protective order barring Robinson from contacting her. She appeared grief-stricken but resolute, vowing her husband's work would not end with his death. Public reaction spread like wildfire. Politicians called it a political assassination. Utah's governor called it an attack on free speech. President Trump labeled it a national tragedy, accusing opponents of fueling dangerous rhetoric. On social media, the storm was relentless. Hashtags, memes, conspiracy theories. Some claimed Robinson had been radicalized online. Others speculated about deeper motives. But amidst the noise, one fact remained. A man was dead, and another was facing the ultimate punishment. And yet, the motive remains hazy. Prosecutors point to Robinson's frustration with Kirk's rhetoric, his belief that Kirk was spreading hate. But was it purely political? Or was there something more personal, something deeper? His family described him as quiet, a young man drifting, not radical, not extreme, until suddenly he was. That question, how does someone cross the line from discontent to assassination, still hangs in the air. Did anyone see the signs? Could it have been prevented? And perhaps the most haunting question, will this inspire others? Because what happened in Orem is more than just a courtroom case. It is a test of America's ability to balance free speech with public safety, to hold open debates in a climate where violence has become a language for the few who cannot tolerate words. The building where it happened has been scrubbed clean, the stage repainted, but no paint can erase the memory. Witnesses will always remember the screams, the stampede, the sound of a bullet where applause should have been. For the families, the pain is permanent. For the survivors, the trauma is lifelong. For Erica Kirk, every day is a reminder of the man she loved and lost. Tyler Robinson now sits in solitary confinement, awaiting trial. The evidence is stacked, the prosecution confident, the defense not yet formed. The death penalty looms. His silence in court only deepens the mystery. And so the story continues. A national figure, a bullet from a rooftop, a young man with no criminal past, now charged with the gravest of crimes. This is not just the story of Charlie Kirk's death. It is the story of a society asking itself, how did we get here? And where do we go from here? Because in the end, this case isn't only about a verdict. It's about what happens when words are no longer enough. When one person decides that bullets speak louder than debate. And that, perhaps, is the most chilling truth of all. This is the day words became a bullet. This is true crime,